The parliamentary budget officer releasing some pretty stark numbers on how much COVID-19 is costing Canada and what the projections are in the years ahead. Let's bring in CTV's Evan Solomon, who is standing by in the Capitol. Evan, good to see you. Let's start with this figure from the PBO and the big takeaway here for you.
Well, the big takeaway is it's less than the government estimate by several tens of billions of dollars, but that should be cold comfort to anyone who's worried that that still means it's a small figure. It's a massive figure. And the most important thing to know, it's just a moment in time. It's a snapshot in a movie of spending. So, you know, it's not $350 billion, maybe $20 billion less, but that doesn't count in the new programs. You just saw that clip of Justin Trudeau tonight. And the next day, we expect them to pass legislation with the help of the NDP for the enhanced EI and a suite of other programs to make sure Canadians get not only that $500 a week they were getting on the CERB through EI and this other suite of recovery benefits, but also expanded sick leave. That'll be $37 billion plus. So the figure that the parliamentary budget officer talked about today is a snapshot in the past. It's already changed literally as of today, and it will keep changing. Why? Because when the parliamentary budget officer was analyzing this, the assumption was that today, Todd, we'd be in a quote recovery, that the Liberals were going to start diminishing the help, financial help, whether on the wage subsidy, whether on the CERB, the emergency response benefit. Now those things have been extended. The wage subsidy expanded for another year, the CERB rolling into enhanced EI and the suite of other recovery benefits. So, you know, we've got another year of big spending. And in the last 6-7 months, we spent over according to the PBO, about $330 billion. So there's a long way to go here. And that's something that the finance minister in her fiscal update later this fall, Chrystia Freeland, will have to talk about, because these are big numbers. Now, whether these programs are necessary or not is a different political discussion. We are now, as you been reporting so well, in Quebec, in that red alert in some areas, the quote second wave in places like Ontario. There's a need for more support because COVID is not receding, but neither are the bills.
Oh, we're just going to show some of the emergency spending that's gone on, Evan, and you know some of these numbers and are familiar with them. You know, $225 billion in emergency spending. And so what does the government need to do now to kind of rein this in down the line?
Well, there's no plan to raise it in. This is what the parliamentary budget officer has been talking about. And there's very few folks begrudge the government for these programs. Let's be fair. These have been necessary programs. Economists throughout history point back to the Great Recession. You know, in times of financial trouble, when countries decide to contract and not spend and not allow and let businesses falter and people lose their jobs and lose their homes, you get into a decade-long cycle of depression. So on any side of the political spectrum, there is no argument that there's been a need to lend businesses and people support to help them get through this unprecedented situation. The question, though, is what is the fiscal anchor? Now, over the next number of months, our viewers are going to hear the term fiscal anchor a lot, and we should probably tell folks a bit what people are referring to. That is, what is the framework for which we can all analyze the spending to make sure it's in some kind of format? Under Bill Morneau's time, we used to think of the size of the deficit was a fiscal anchor. We'd like to get it to no deficit. That was Stephen Harper's fiscal anchor, no deficits, because he wanted to avoid constant spending or structural deficits. Then Bill Morneau said, you know what? Instead of no deficits, we're going to have the debt to GDP ratio. So a debt to GDP, how much debt you're carrying next to as a percentage of your gross domestic product. Canada was about 31%, one of the lowest in the G7, and that was a big fiscal anchor for the Liberals. Now with COVID, we're at 51%, and it could grow. What we don't know is what number is 60? Is it 70? Is it 51? What is the Liberals' fiscal anchor so we can know how we can eventually get out of that? And at this moment, Todd, we have no idea.